Okay, so hello everyone. Thank you for joining us today. On today's episode, we are joined by the wonderful Seán McCormack. He is one of our series directors. He has directed series 2 of Pip and Posy with us and is currently directing something else that we are not allowed to talk about yet. But we're going to talk a little bit about Seán's career and how he got to where he is today. So thank you for joining us. How are you, Seán?
I'm very good, thank you. Yeah, very good. Just
Very good.
spending the morning in a hotel of all places. But yeah.
Ooh, so
Lovely.
bougie.
So, no, it's an Ibis. It's an Ibis. It's definitely not bougie.
Hey, it's okay.
No.
For people listening, we can pretend we're like, wow, what is that behind you? A grand piano? Whoa.
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 So nice. Yeah, cool. So thank you. We are so excited to have you on the podcast today, Seán. We kind of got to know you last year at FMX, and you have a wealth of stories, which is so interesting, and your career is fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know whether you see it like that, but we definitely do. So yeah, we just kind of want to talk to you about your role now and how you got to where you are. So what do you do at the moment? Do you want to talk to us a bit about what a director is in Blue Zoo?
Sure. So yes, I'm currently series director. Blue Zoo is split into multiple parts. There's short form and other parts as well, but I'm a director in the long form part. So the first series I directed was Pip and Posy, which is 52 episodes of a 7-minute series, which is a lot of episodes and a lot of balls to juggle in the air. We work very closely with certain clients on certain shows, depending on whatever the show is. And on Pip and Posy, we worked with a company called Magic Light. And so my job was essentially, one of my jobs is being the in-between man between Blue Zoo and Magic Light, the creative in-between man.
Yeah.
And that went really well. They're a lovely company to work with. And then the other side of my job is to direct the team, the wonderful team from Blue Zoo. Most of us are working from home or all over the world, which is great. So we've had a lot of Zoom calls, essentially, and a lot of funny, weird meetings, and a lot of quick drawings and quick ideas and giving notes. So yeah, basically directing is just a lot of putting out fires, running all over the place, and but having a big, clear vision of what you want to do and sticking to that vision. That's mostly what I think a director does, especially on a series.
In your opinion.
In my opinion, yeah.
Nice. Yeah, and you're currently, when you're not in a hotel, somewhere in Manchester, you're living in Berlin, right?
I am, yeah. Randomly, I moved to Berlin about a year ago. So yeah, we're currently talking about moving back to the UK. So.
Oh my god!
Sorry, we just got very excited about this.
Yeah, we're trying it. We're trying it. My partner has got a job out in Berlin, and it's nice, and it's very German, and it's very nice. But I kind of miss. It's very German. Not in a bad way.
Sure.
Well,
not in a bad way. No.
No, but I do miss the just the banter and also being able to go into the studio, because in the UK I'm based in London, and so I would go into the studio a couple of times a week and just see people, and it's a nice vibe and it's creative energy. When you're at home all the time, it can be difficult. At least to go in every now and again is really nice.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like, how have you found that being a director, being in another country? Like, you don't get to see anybody in person, really.
Yeah. Well, the first half of the production, I was still in the UK, so a lot of people I got to meet firsthand. So that was a good way to start the show, because a lot of people I managed to meet. But even like the key heads of departments, they were all over. Like the animation soup was in Italy, and the asset manager was in another place in Italy. And even the people based in the UK, like the storyboard soup, he's all the way over somewhere near Wales or something. So Yeah, or Exeter, I think he is. Yeah. So yeah, it's everyone is kind of everywhere. So even if you're in the studio, you don't really you can't see everyone. It's such a big company and it's so far reaching. So a lot of it was done at home anyway for most people, and so it didn't actually feel too bad. And the only part I struggled with being in Berlin was a little bit the time difference. It's not much; it's an hour, but instead of finishing at 6 most days, I finished at 7, and 7 is annoying.
Yeah.
It's just
That is annoying. It's an annoying time.
It is. And like when the day starts in the UK, it usually starts around 10ish. Like you'll come on a bit earlier and do some emails and whatnot, but it starts around 10. But in Germany, that's 11, and then half the day's gone by that point. You know, you're like, oh god.
Yeah.
So you know that's always a little bit annoying. Yeah, but it's all right.
Yeah,
could be worse. Like you just get used to it. You adapt.
Yeah, exactly. You just adapt. Yeah.
So you're a series director now.
Yeah.
How did you get there? I mean, me and Katie kind of know the story already, but we find it so fascinating, as Katie said before. So where did you begin? How did you get here?
Gosh. I'm old.
Where to start? We like long stories, don't worry.
So I studied animation in Bournemouth, and that was great. That was a brilliant start to it. And after that, I worked in pubs and applied for jobs and got told no for a few months. And then eventually a company in Luxembourg, which is I've two nationalities. It's where I grew up in Luxembourg, and I wasn't even living in Luxembourg at the time. They saw my student film, and it weirdly looked a lot like a project they were working on, and they were looking for an animator. And this is back in the day. It was like flipping paper, like, you know, light boxes, the whole thing.
Old school.
Yeah, old school. So
no, I didn't mean that in that way, Sean. I learned like that too. Don't worry.
Thanks. Making me feel my back pain right now.
No, that's not what I mean. Sorry, Captain.
Just dust myself off and move on from that. So Luxembourg, and then I went back, and it was supposed to be a 2-week gig of animation, like just kind of, I was doing effects animation on this short film, and I stayed there for 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a long time.
2 weeks to 10 years.
2 weeks. Yeah, my first contract was 2 weeks. I signed a 2-week contract. And it was ridiculous as well. I had to do like, I don't know, 4 minutes of animation in 2 weeks. The first contract was like, okay, I'm never getting this done.
That's not
so that really got extended quite quickly. And then, but yeah, then 10 years. And so yeah, I just then when I was in the studio, they were quite open to people pitching ideas to them, and like Blue Zoo is as well. And a lot of good companies will be open for that. And so I pitched a load of ideas, and most of which were told no, which is fair enough. There are a lot of bad ideas in there. And, a lot of bad ideas. But one of them got told yes. And that then turned into a short film that I was starting to direct. And then while I was in the middle of making that short film, and by that point I had been an animator in 2D and 3D. Every time I lied so I was a traditional animator, and then they were like, hey, do you want to go on this Flash show? You know how to use Flash, right? And I'm like, yeah, cool, I know how to use Flash. And then I went home and I learned Flash, and then it's like, fine. And then it was like, oh, well, after that, we have no more 2D shows. Do you want to do this 3D show? You know how to use Maya, right? So, of course. And then I went home and learned Maya. That was a lot harder. And that was really hard. It was a long weekend. And then I ended up working my way up to being a supervisor, and I did a bunch of other things. But then when I got to directing and was pitching all through the years, I then was in the middle of directing my short film, very proud of myself. And then my company that I was at was actually, we have this project. We need a director. It's a co-production between Luxembourg and Ireland. And anyone in the industry knows that there's a lot of like regional funding things going on about blah, blah, blah. And so they were like, we need a director who is Luxembourgish and Irish. And I was literally the only thing.
You were the only one.
The only one. Chosen one. At that point. Like, there's no one.
I was about to say, you'd be a bit annoyed if they weren't with anyone else. So you're like, hello.
Yeah, I would be quite annoyed. Yeah. So I went from starting to direct my first short film, putting it on break, and then jumping into directing, luckily co-directing a feature film for the next 2 years. And that was the best school I've ever had. I worked with a guy called Toby Genkel, who had directed many, many, many other films before, because it was also co-production with Germany. And he's amazing, and he was like, he was my Yoda all the way through. I had no idea what I was doing. I was very, very green, and I'm so grateful that I had him. And I ended up making another film with him as well. So that kind of, so when I finished that film, I managed to go back and finish my short film, and then that kind of just kept going from there. And I haven't stopped directing really since then. Just kind of, yeah. Now I'm here.
Now you're here.
And then we stole you.
Yeah, so that's quite an interesting progression then, right? So I feel like you went into directing feature quite soon into your directing career.
Oh yeah,
that doesn't always happen in that order for people, right?
Yeah, no. Normally it is more like you build up from shorts and adverts and short content to maybe series and then to feature.
Yeah.
I think it has a lot to do with funding and whatnot. In Luxembourg or in the EU at the time, it was easier to fund feature films. So there was just giving out more regional funding for that. So there was just more feature films happening at that time. This is, years ago now. You guys were probably still at school. So, but yeah.
You're not that much older than us, Sean. Don't worry. It's fine. Yeah, and you've also then literally worked across Europe, which is also really cool. How have you found that? How have you found kind of the difference between working at different studios, different countries? Some people stick to the UK for their whole lives.
Yeah, that's. I mean, we shouldn't get in on that. Starts with E and ends with exit. And
what could that be?
I kept it nice and vague to not like ruffle any feathers.
Great, wonderful, lovely.
Thank you. Yeah, I liked it. I really enjoyed it. It's really good to work with just finding out how it is working with different people and who you gel with more. I'm lucky in the sense that, so because I grew up in Luxembourg, I speak multiple languages, and that made it a lot easier to work in like French speaking countries or German speaking countries. So that was good for me. I was able to, speak with the team on a more personal level in that sense. But I don't think you necessarily really need that. I was very much the advocate for getting a bunch of my friends from uni into the studio in Luxembourg. At one point, there was like 10 of us. We had this little Bournemouth clique in Luxembourg. It was very weird. And so it was a lot of people ended up traveling the world through that. And I thought that was really cool that opened the doors for a lot of people. And I think it can only benefit you to experience what is, because like making animation in France is so much different. I mean, now Blue Zoo's got a studio in Lille, so we'll find out.
We're learning that.
yeah, it's very different.
Yeah.
And then Germany again, very, very different. And so I can kind of, because of that experience, I can kind of handle, I think, more personalities than most. and I can flip a little bit easier, I'd say. But yeah, I have to say though, because of, I am originally Irish and English is my mother tongue and all that, I do prefer communicating in English, and I do prefer I like just the English Irish banter and comedy and sensibility. It's just easier. Like, I can throw out references and you guys will know what I'm talking about. And if I say something sarcastic, even when I'm talking about like pitching ideas and it being sarcasm, you know where it's coming from. Germans don't do sarcasm. And it's like comedy is
no, they're just to the point.
they're very to the point. Yeah. And like French humor, for example, is very it's very intellectual. It's all like word games and like a play on words, and and yeah. It's none of this like fart jokes or whatever that we would do, or well, we don't do it that much. But English is a bit more.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, but in France they rarely do.
Yeah. So that must have been quite a challenge for you then as a director, especially if you're working with, so like in your feature, you had the Irish side and the Luxembourg side. If one person suggests an idea, you're like, will that translate? Will my team get it? Like having to kind of translate it for them or think of an idea that would suit both in a way.
Yeah. When it came to like the content, like the dialogue and the scripts and whatever, or the animation, what was happening in the project, because the films they get made in English because the world is westernized, and to market it better, this just is.
Yeah, it is.
Well done, England. So the content had to be more like English Americanified. So like even Toby, who's German, his English is perfect. He would often defer to me on certain things because I just have that natural tendency of being born into that world. I just get it. Like I grew up watching English and Irish TV and like that, and American and all that. So I get it more than he would. But then it's trying to handle how it's more about me switching, because in co-productions, everything's being done in their own country, and they kind of just work in an insular thing in their own country, and then it's the producers that are talking a lot, and anyone who does any of the organization is very much in communication with each other, and the financing, and then the director, they need to be able to bounce between. But the teams by themselves, they tend to be quite insular, so that wasn't really a bother. I don't think it was just more about when I'm talking with the producer in Ireland, I can be a certain way, and with the producer in Germany, I have to be a different way. And then so yeah, and even like the producer in Luxembourg, who was actually Belgian but it was just very, and like there's a big difference between Luxembourgers and Belgians as well. So like you just have to really understand how it works. But I mean, it's the same in the UK. Like I'm in Manchester right now, and people apologize when they bump into me in the street. It's like, what?
Yeah.
That's not the London I know.
Yeah.
I visited.
That's completely different.
Yeah, I visited back home recently, and I'm from Derbyshire originally, and everyone I walked past said good morning, and me and my partner were just like, what? Morning? We were so confused. Yeah, it's so different across the country, and that's just one country.
Yeah, it is. It is mad though, but I think the UK is especially successful at regional differences.
Yeah.
But yeah, when it's between countries and there's language barriers, it's even more so. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I'm also, I don't know if this is a bit of a pivot, but I'm also quite interested, because you mentioned it before, about how much, in all honesty, because I think a lot of people don't get to speak to directors if they've not worked in the industry before or whatever that might be, how much creative input a director has on a production, because you mentioned being that creative go-between between somebody like Magic Light for us and Blue Zoo, what that relationship is like, what creative input they both have and how you manage that, and then what can you kind of give to the production as the director.
So that really depends on the production and what the setup is. So for example, on Pip and Posy, it was a series 2. I was directing. So there was already a whole wealth of 52 episodes to refer to. So the world was already built. Everything was there. So I wasn't creating like new characters or new sets or anything. We had everything. And then, so that already is going to change how much input you would have creatively. And then Magic Light is also one of these companies. They have all this content. They've got all their films and all their stuff that they're working on, and they have a very clear vision about what they're doing with it, which is brilliant. And so it very much is their baby. So my role is more making sure that their vision is done to the best of our ability. So I will have like input of adding jokes, of adding moments, and like I'm adapting scripts. A lot of me is just saying, no, too expensive, push back, nope.
Too expensive.
We cannot. And other things like that. But like I worked with a showrunner for Magic Light called Jeroen, who was really, really generous when it came to giving space for me and the team to add our own flavor in it. But because it's a series 2 and because it's a property owned by someone else, you're not going to have the most creative freedom as in the new show that project I'm currently working on, which we will not name. I have all the secrets. Yes. I have so much more creative input because I'm here from the start. It's the initiation, the creation of the world, of the characters of the show, and the people we're working with are also I don't know if we can name them, but they have a lot of work, but they tend to give the studio working with them a lot more freedom. And so I'm deciding everything from like the color of someone's hair down to how their house is going to be laid out, or what kind of stories we're telling. It's like it's almost too much. So
it's too exciting. It's too exciting.
It's so exciting. It's brilliant. But also I'm working with someone from that company who is involved with it from the beginning, and but it's very much a partnership, and it's very much it's really cool. It's going to be good. Well, touch wood, it's going to be good.
I mean, from what I've seen, it's going to be pretty cool.
That will be great.
It's cute, isn't it?
It's so cute.
And then I just wanted to ask as well, back when you were at Bournemouth doing your degree, did you always want to be a director? Did you see yourself going this direction?
I didn't actually dream this that big, for lack of a better word. My goal was to be an animator. That was what I enjoyed doing. And I think at that stage you don't know who you are, especially in the industry. You really don't have a clue. And I definitely enjoy animating, but if I was to be given a scene to animate now, I would not know what to do. And I used to do it as a job, Yeah. So when I got out, and I think that's like one of the things that students are always coming out whenever I go to festivals and whatnot, and I'm talking with students, and everyone's really excited, and I get it. I was just the exact same, but a lot of people come out with like these exact visions of I'm going to be this, and most back in my day anyway, everyone was like, I'm going to be a 2D animator and a character designer, and those are the two things that I'm going to do. And there's so many other jobs you can do, and that's something that I think it's good to have like a thing that you enjoy doing, but at that stage, I think you should definitely be more open-minded to whatever could come and whatever you could go into. Because I mean, I did start as an animator, but then I had to pivot and learn other programs, and then start to storyboard and do other things, just because you have to have work, and I was excited to work, and and quite early on at the company I was working at in Luxembourg, my the studio owner, the CEO, he was trying to groom me essentially into being a director. And he was trying it in a very like soft-handed way. So I think that he had a vision for it before I did. And I was just there animating, living my best life. But he had big, grander plans.
Nice time.
Yeah. Yeah, it was good. But so yeah, it wasn't a particular goal, I have to say. But I'm really happy the way it went, and I'm really happy that I've been a writer. I didn't expect to write. I can barely put 2 sentences together, and like, you know. And then suddenly I'm writing a feature film. It's like, okay, how did that happen? But why not?
Why not? Exactly. Why not?
Why not? I mean, that's so interesting because we've recorded 4 podcasts now, and I think every single person we've talked to so far has all gone, I had no idea I was going to do the job that I was doing when I first studied. So yeah, it's a really good thing to remind everybody, especially when you're starting out, like, it's okay, you're going to find your feet. It will take time, but it will be worth it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. It's we're also eager in the beginning.
Yeah. Everyone's still got the sparkle in their eyes.
Exactly. That'll be soon, don't worry.
On that light note, we always ask everybody this as well. What would you say is your most memorable or life-changing moment of your career so far?
Ooh, there are a couple that are quite impactful. I will say that the first time I was made a supervisor of anything was crazy. I had just come off animating on a CG show for a year, almost 2 maybe, and there was another show in the studio that was in Toon Boom, and once again in Harmony, and once again they said, do you know Harmony? And I lied and I said yes.
There's a theme here.
There's a theme. No trust a thing I say. I can do it all. And then I lie. I remember I went in to, they had already animated the first episode, and I went into my meeting, and so I was a later arrival to the team. And so I joined the team, and my first day, there was a big team meeting, and they had heard notes back from the director, who was based in Paris, about the animation of the first episode. And he tore the team to shreds. He was French or not British in any way, shape, or form. They will tear you apart. He literally said, you cannot animate. It was
oh my gosh,
horrifying. It was really bad.
They don't prepare anything now.
Yeah, it was really like, what do you say to that?
Yeah.
And I mean, so basically the studio it was, you know, it was at that point still a fairly young studio, and they hadn't really set up an animation soup. So it was basically the guy who was running every department, everything was also running the animation. So he was busy with storyboarding and everything, and design and modeling, and, you know, well, not modeling, was 2D, but everything. And he couldn't handle it, obviously. I mean, no one could handle that. So the animation team just did what they did in a previous series, which was a lot more simple, and this was a lot more pushed. So yeah, the quality was not what they were expecting. And I literally that weekend before had watched a documentary about a French show called Whack Fu, and how they animated. And they did this kind of thing where a traditional animator would key out the poses of certain big shots, and then the model, the rigged animation would in between it. And I thought that was cool. Yeah, it was really cool. It was quite different and made for some really fluid animation. And so literally in that meeting, my first day on that show, I spoke up during that meeting and I said, could we try animating like this? And I had the because I'd watched it. So it was still on my laptop. So I was like plugged it in, and I essentially presented an animation style. It was literally just a YouTube clip. But anyway, I showed it to everyone, and the next day I was animation supervisor.
Wow.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
2
It
days
was
in.
mad.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So that's like, and no one told me either. I came in Tuesday, and like, by the way, you're the animation supervisor.
You're like, what?
Yeah.
Am I?
Me. So I just learned Toon Boom last week. But yeah, that was kind of the beginning of it. And like I had a big team. I had like 30 odd animators, and
Oh wow.
yeah. It was also like 52 episodes. It was 10-minute episodes. It was an intense show, but we knocked it out of the park. It looked great in the end. But so the moral of that very long story is essentially I spoke up, and I was in a meeting, and I made myself be known. And because I did that, I was given more opportunities. And yeah, like I think it's just, you need to just try and put yourself out there, which is what I did at that stage. And I didn't even do it really on purpose. I just can't keep my mouth shut. So
It's like, I've got this idea. I will say it.
I'm just gonna say
Let me just plug in my laptop, and they're like, "Where did you get the HDMI cable?" It's like, let me just plug it in.
I literally unplugged the other guys and plugged it.
Wait, just need that.
Can you move out the way, please? Thank you.
Yes. This is literally the mind of like a 26-year-old, like, I can do this.
I mean, I love that energy, to be honest.
Yeah, it's good fun.
Amazing. Shall we ask some questions from Instagram? We got some lovely questions.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the first one, right. This is like my little warning at the beginning of every question thing in each podcast is I cannot read very well because I'm dyslexic. Brace yourselves if I offend anyone with how I say your username. Sorry. So, first one, what can a student do in their first year of computer animation other than coursework? And that's for Issa Sueri. There's going to be a compilation of me saying like everybody's usernames really badly at the end of this.
I like it. I support that.
I'm here for that.
What can you do? Well, one thing that I did, especially if you want to just improve your storytelling skills, is watch a lot of your favorite movies. Watch them alone because you're going to annoy everyone, and you're going to pause on every shot of a particular scene and sketch it. Yeah. And every shot, pause, sketch, pause. Just do a full page of them, and any particular scene. Like if you go, I did it to Jurassic Park a million times. So like
I know that film off by heart.
That meme of Thingy lying there with his chest bare, I drew that. But the T-Rex scene obviously is the iconic scene, and so I did that one a million times because I wanted to understand what made it iconic. Why is it iconic? It just is. And also like the scene in the kitchen and the freezer at the end, like all those scenes, I just did them all, and I would pause and draw, and then I would take out the page and I'd like study it and try to figure out how. And drawings can be terrible, it's fine, but just how does this work narratively? So it's definitely something to do alone because you will annoy anyone doing it with. That's always good. That's one thing I did. And then I'm a big comic book nerd and art book nerd, so I would go to a lot of comic book stores and other things like that, and they would inspire me. And I would artist studies. So if you wanted to do drawing as well, I think it's good for everyone to draw, even people in computer animation. I think it's good to draw because you're learning the technical skills in school. But if you're specifically computer animation and you're not drawing much, then you need to do it outside. So I would, artist study is literally you get one of the artists that you like. In school you're told to like look at all the greats, which are great too, which I did as well. But like I did it because someone told me to. But when I did my own artist study, I would get like all the books that I was really into. Like I did an artist study on Scott Pilgrim's books, the Scott Pilgrim books, and and like things like that, and the Hellboy books and all that. Like they've inspired how I draw and how I create, essentially. So I think that's, even if you don't intend on drawing, I think that is really important in our industry all the way around for everyone.
Yeah.
I love those exercises. I haven't heard those before. They're fantastic.
Yeah, I did the same. I have one somewhere that I'm not going to say who, and I will not show it to anyone, but it's someone from Blue Zoo. When I was at uni, because I loved Blue Zoo when I was at uni. So a lot of that, because I would research them all the time. So I've done really similar exercises to that.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying who. So I've got sketchbooks full of work just like that. And it's so helpful. I totally agree with you on those exercises.
Yeah, I think they're helpful.
Yeah, definitely. And then, next one from Leo Wright Studios. What ways would you best approach pitching ideas to direct? It's really hard to say.
Yeah.
Good question. Well, gosh, you need to really, it's the pitch deck. You need to really make something great. Obviously having a good idea, but a good idea is subjective. It also depends on who's looking at it and what they're looking for at that time, and how that fits. So, I mean, that's why you should also, like, if you're an independent creative and you have an idea, approach different companies and different people and see if anyone's interested, and if not, ask for feedback and improve upon what you've done. But that is obviously, as I said, that's subjective in its way. But what you can always do is your pitch deck needs to be immaculate. Make as much artwork as you can. Make sure that it is something that is quite original in a look. It doesn't, I mean, just don't be derivative in how it looks. So it's like it stands out when you look at it first. That's always good. And then be convicted of who your characters are and the world that they're in, so that any story can really be created there. So just really work out exactly who they are. Because if it's a bit wishy-washy, then it's probably not going to capture anyone's interest, because they don't really know what kind of story you're trying to tell. Yeah, you need to know exactly what each character, how they would react in a certain situation. So when you put them in any situation, this story will automatically and organically be created, because you know that character is going to be a certain way. If you put Mickey in one situation and Donald in the same situation, it's going to be two very different stories. So just because we all know who those guys are, and that's just
nice.
I think that's did that answer that question? I don't know.
Yes, you did answer the question. You're okay.
Next question. How do you get your foot in the door of the industry? And that's by Kiki Bananas 09.
Kiki Bananas, brilliant name.
I love that name.
It's great. Well, make a show about Kiki Bananas, please. I'm already interested.
Yeah, I would see that.
Exactly. I would totally be on board. That's how you get your foot in the industry. I mean, a lot of networking, essentially. I went to every festival I could get to in the last year of me graduating, and also in the first year after I graduated. Just I made sure everyone knew who I was, and was quite obnoxious about it, really. And then I think that's the way you have to do it.
It's good to get your name out. Yeah.
It is. It's always tough in the beginning, because everyone's going to say, "Oh, we love your work, but we want someone with more experience." And you're like, "Well, if you gave me the job, I'd have more experience."
It's the
it's really
never-ending
hard.
cycle.
It really is. It really is. And everyone has their reasons, and it's all fair and good, but yeah, it's difficult for everyone involved. Yeah, I think you just need to put yourself out there, because it is a lot about right place, right time. So just if you put yourself out in a lot of places, you'll have more opportunity. Also think about your local studios a lot. So a lot of companies everywhere in the world, including the UK, they have a lot of like regional schemes and funding and everything like that. And so if you're based in Scotland, for example, check with the Scottish studios. If you're based in Wales, check with the Welsh studios. Check everywhere else, because a lot of studios need to hit a certain quota of people who don't live like in London, or don't live outside the UK, or like you get more. It's better for the company if they are hiring more diverse crew. It's better for the company creatively, but also financially, to be honest. So that's why I mean, just get your name out there, but also go locally and make sure that they know who you are. If you're a local kid, they might be more likely to hire you, because that was kind of what happened with me. Is I was local to Luxembourg, and they knew that they like having me there would be helpful to them in a certain way. But then I was also a good fit for the job. So that's just kind of how I did it, and I think it's just how it is. It's just apply a lot.
It's just how it is. Yeah, I do, because I think a lot of people naturally, and very understandably so, navigate to the real like big hitters of animation studios when they're juniors, and you don't always need to do that. You can get so much really good, positive experience, and you can learn a lot in these smaller studios that are down the road from you. So yeah, like Sean said, don't discount them.
Exactly. And all the big studios in the UK came from little studios originally.
Yeah.
So they might be the next big thing in the UK, and if you get in at the ground floor, that's pretty cool.
Who's to say?
Who's to say? Who's the next one? Yeah.
Okay, so next question. This is a very broad question, Sean. Sorry about this. From Seawall, where do you start?
With what?
The universe. Everything.
Well, there's something called a Big Bang. Or if you're from a different school, God created. I don't know that story anymore. Sorry, it's been a long time since.
It's been a long time.
But how do you start? I mean, go to school, go to animation school. I couldn't recommend it more. I mean, before you go to animation school, draw a lot and create a lot, and do it for fun, and do it because you love it. Because if you don't love it, you're not gonna enjoy it. It really is about the love of it. So just make sure, if you're drawing all the time and you think it's a slog, then maybe you shouldn't be drawing. Or if if you don't enjoy animation, then don't go into animation, kind of a thing. I'm sure everyone here enjoys animation listening. So draw a lot before you go to school. Have a good portfolio before you go to school already, as good as you can at that stage, but just mean drawing a lot. Draw what, even if you're inspired by a particular thing, if you want to be drawing nothing but Disney characters, cool. If you want to be drawing nothing but anime characters, cool, as long as it gets you drawing, and that gets you into the university where you're going to be taught more and a broader and wider spectrum. And the closest friends I have today are still the people I was at uni with, and we've all helped each other find jobs out there, and we're all have each other's backs. So that was really helpful to me anyway. It's definitely been, I didn't feel like I was getting out into the world alone, because I kind of had this whole crew backing me up. And so I think draw a lot, go into uni, and then do what I said in the last question. After that.
It's cute. I mean, we've started to notice that a bit more. Now we're going into the studio more, Katie, where we are seeing, like, I feel like Bournemouth is one of the bingo card things because everyone's like, I went to Bournemouth. But we've got a current group of junior animators who all, I think, all worked on the same graduation film, and they're
Wow.
at Blue Zoo. And then we've got some of like the people who've been here like 10 years plus who all went to Bournemouth or other universities together. So yeah, having those friendships and keeping in touch it's really important in this industry because a recommendation goes a really long way.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Oh, this is a good one. I mean, they're all good. They're all fantastic. How do I make... I don't want anyone to feel like their question wasn't good. Everyone's questions are amazing.
Call someone terrible. Go on.
Well, this next one is a terrible question. No,
there we go.
Great. How do I make the switch from 3D animator to being a director professionally? And that's from Mishira. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Annie Yamashiro. I like it.
Yeah, there it is. Sean said it better.
How do you make the switch? Well, if you're already a 3D animator, you know how the industry works and you know what companies and studios are looking for. I would definitely push first of all to get some supervising roles and work your way up there first. It's not common that you would go from being an animator to a director straight away. You'd have to like work your way up the ladder, really. So it does happen, but it's good to, you know, as I said, that me becoming a supervisor was a really key moment in my career. From my career side and my personal side, I've just like suddenly, opened all these doors. And I think, so aim to be a supervisor, learn how to handle a team and manage a team, learn how to, what it means when you have to, switch people around, hit deadlines, when you've got, the answer to, if as an animator, you're given your scene, you're given your deadline and you go, and then it's like, that's and then you do your retakes or there's a retake team. So sometimes you don't even have to do your retakes. So it really depends. When you're doing that, it's very much you're in your own world and you're in your own insular thing. And directing is not about being in your own world, in my opinion. There are some directors in that world, but I don't. In the world of Blue Zoo, for sure, you're not in your own world. You are working with a broad spectrum of really talented people. And you need to be able to deal with them. You need to be able to disagree with them. You need to be able to support people who need the support. There's all these other things that you need to, and you learn all that when you're a supervisor. So do that first. And then from the supervisor, I would just pitch ideas. A lot of companies like Blue Zoo are looking for ideas and things. Make sure also people know that you want it. Make sure that everyone knows that that's your goal. I want to be able to do this. This is something I want to do, because maybe the people in talent team don't know, because they might think you're perfectly happy as an animator and don't want to do anything else. So make sure that everyone knows that this is something you're really interested in, and they will keep you in mind because they know that there's someone there who wants it, and wanting it is already a really big part of it. So do that a lot, and then pitch ideas, work on your storytelling, work on, learn the other stages, talk to other supervisors. If you're an animator, talk to the storyboard supervisors, talk to them, talk to the rigging supervisor, talk to the editors, talk to the other directors, just talk to them and just annoy the heck out of them and get as many tips and tricks and information you can get. And if they also know how eager you are, then that's going to also get to the people who make these decisions. It's a lot about putting yourself out there, I think.
Yeah, exactly. And it must be really important to forge those relationships early as well, because as a director, you would be talking to all of the heads of departments and stuff anyway. So to know that you know them and they know you first must really help in that.
Yeah, definitely. It's very good to have those bonds, and then later on once you've directed something, then you can be thrown into new teams and they're not going to question you. Like this, everyone, especially in a place like Blue and most big companies like Blue are like, if they're in their job, they know what they're doing. We're all professionals here. So they're not going to come in and like, oh, this person's not any good, which has happened to me in other companies. So I'm just saying. So Blue has a healthy approach to that, which is a good thing. So yeah.
That's all we look for, a healthy approach.
Yes. It's not toxic. Yay.
Yay. We did it, guys.
Okay. Should we do one more?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Okay, so last one from... oh, no.
It's your turn.
It's something like life new mum.
Oh, yeah.
What is the most important skill for a series director?
That's a good one.
Multitasking. Yes, multitasking is definitely one. And along with that, I would say conviction, probably. You need to, because you are directing this whole group of people, you can't go in and be wishy-washy about the decisions you're making and the directions you're taking. That is going to make everyone's life a living hell. It's like, I think I want something like that, but wait, can you draw it again, just different? Because I think I'll know it when I see it. That is going to not make you very popular. So you go in, you have references, you have sketches, you have color palettes, you have all, whatever stage you're in or whatever, you go in and you say, this is the direction I want to do. Let's do it. And then they're like, cool, I have something to work on. And then they do it. And then they're, you built something. That being said, you also have to take on board whenever someone is saying, actually, I think this is a mistake because X, Y, Z, because we all do that. But nonetheless, you should always approach it with a lot of conviction and confidence in what you're doing, because you're in that role for a reason. And you shouldn't, it's hard because we're all human, and I second guess myself about what socks I put on in the morning. So when it comes to work, like I second guess myself a lot internally, but externally I'm like, yeah, this is what we're doing. Because you're the director, so you need to show that you're confident and that everyone can feel confident in what you're doing. So yeah, I think that's probably the biggest part.
Yeah. Oh, that's some great advice to finish on, I think. Oh, thank you so much for joining us today, Seán. It's been really lovely catching up with you again. If this comes out before FMX in April, you can see all of us there in person if you come along. Wow. If this comes out after FMX, thank you so much for coming to visit us in Stuttgart. We had a great time meeting all of you. But yeah, Seán's just a fantastic, bubbly, wonderful, creative person to have in the studio. And we're so lucky to have him with us, not only in the studio, but also with us at festivals and stuff, because you've got this wealth of knowledge and you bring this energy to us when we're just like absolutely exhausted. You're like, come on guys, let's go get schnitzel. And it's fantastic. So thank you so much for everything you do at Blue Zoo.
Oh, thank you guys. And I love you guys loads, and love going to loved going to FMX with you, and I'm very much looking forward to going to it, or if it's after. I'm so glad I went to the second FMX with you.
Oh, it was amazing.
It was so much fun. Remember when that thing happened with the thing? It was great.
Whoa. Oh man, I don't know if we can talk about that here. Whoa, jeez.
Next episode. Leave it as like a cliffhanger.
Da-da-da.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.